Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to Google Digital Garage. We are here to talk about how we can help you find your career goals. This is a really exciting session, so I'm really glad that you've all managed to join us today. So, my name is Anthea. I'm one of the Google Digital Garage trainers, and Google Digital Garage is a free skills training program which helps you to use technology to improve your skills and improve your career or grow your business. So, we have a variety of different sessions available to help you in different aspects of that. But today we are talking about how you can discover what your purpose is essentially and how you can use that to find your career goals. Now, in addition to being here to lead this session, I'm not alone. And I have Sarah, who is our moderator for this afternoon session. Sarah, you can see within the chat, and she will have a blue spanner next to her name. So, any questions, any comments, anything that you want to share, please do pop it in the chat. And Sarah will be communicating with you across the duration of today's session. So I just want to cover off a few housekeeping type things before we get started, and just to make sure that you know what to do in case there's any challenges during the session. So again, Sarah's just mentioned this, but if you do have any difficulties viewing or hearing at any point this webinar, please just refresh your screen. Usually it's an F5 situation, but depending on the type of device you're using, a refresh generally tends to resolve all issues. If you want to jump into the chat with Sarah and also ask questions today, please do make sure that you have a YouTube account. If you don't have a YouTube account, you can click the button within the chat area and set one up in just a matter of moments and then jump back into the conversation. So remember, we're here also to share this information as well as support you in finding your career goals by answering any questions that you may have. So please do sign into YouTube account or get one set up so that you can participate in today's session. And as I mentioned, this is part of Google Digital Garage. So we are running a number of virtual training sessions with a variety of different subjects. So please do check out what other webinars that we have. With regards to career goals, we have another one called Build Your CV and Write a Cover Letter. So that might be useful for those of you who are looking to explore, another role within your career. So I think that's all the housekeeping done. We will have points throughout today's webinar, which I will pause for questions, but keep sending your questions through and Sarah will answer them as we go along the way. So if you haven't already said hello, please do jump into the chat. Let us know who you are, what you do, where you're from, and what you'd like to get out of today's session. So let's dig in. Now, we're kind of breaking this particular webinar down into three segments. The first is for you to really understand why you're here. Now, a lot of people generally, when they're trying to figure out what career they want, maybe you're in a position where you're transitioning from something that you've been doing for a very long time, or maybe you're just at the start of your career. But either way, you just have that niggling feeling like you're not quite sure what it is that you want to do. Now, the best way to figure that out is to find your purpose, figure out why we're here, and then how you can use that to shape a career moving forward. We will then be going through a series of exercises. So this is going to be a very interactive session. Please do make sure that you grab a notepad and a pen, or you have a separate window available with a document that you can type some notes, because there will definitely be lots of opportunities to make notes as we go through. So we'll be breaking at different points in order to answer any questions that you've got. But the idea of today's session is for you to walk away at the end with a clearer understanding about what career path you may decide to take, and also some specific steps about what actions you're going to take within the next week, month, year even, on how you're going to make that a reality. So let's dive in. And again, remember, if you have any questions throughout, please do pop them in the chat, as well as any comments that you've got. And just a quick hello to Ayash Sharma. Hello from wherever you are dialing in from. And also to Violet from Belize, who is a content creator. So very, very glad that you're here. And again, if you're not yet in the chat, please do sign into YouTube so you can participate. Now, in addition to the webinars that we have, Google also offer free career certificates. Now, if you are thinking about changing your career or you want to understand a particular subject in more depth, then this is a really, really good opportunity for you to get a career certificate. So Google have joined forces with Coursera, who host the online courses in a variety of different subjects, such as project management, IT support, digital marketing, and e-commerce, and a few more. So if you're looking for a shorter way to get the skills that you need so that you can build on that to develop your career certificates is definitely something worthwhile. And Sarah has already dropped a link in the chat for you. So remember, there is no requirement for any experience or any skills, any degree. This is something for those of you who are in the UK. You can access a free scholarship in order to further your career. So where we are now is potentially, again, what are the reasons that you're here, right? It could be because you're at the start of your career. It could be because you're thinking about doing something different. It could be because you maybe no longer have fulfillment in what it is that you're doing. And so one of the questions that we get asked the most is, what career should I go for? Now, the best way to figure this out is to actually think back to a time when you felt most fulfilled in a job, right? It could be a job that you've got now. It could be something, a previous job, and it doesn't have to be a paid job. It could be that you offered, volunteer experience or something like that. So just think back to it and just let us know in the chat, what were you doing in that job? What was happening around you? And were you fulfilled by the job that you were doing, or was it more to do with the money that you were earning? So think back to a time and let us know, when did you feel most fulfilled by a job? And let us know why. Now, this is really important, and do make a note of this in your notebooks, because this is the basis for which you will develop an understanding about how you're going to move forward in your career. Now, if you think about the fact that 3 out of 10 workers, so 30% of workers in the UK, do not believe that they have good prospects for career development, and also considering that 1/3 of our lives is likely to be spent at work, is this a statistic that you really want to fall into? Do you want to spend 1/3 of your life working in a place that does not give you good prospects for career development? I can tell you that I definitely wouldn't want to. When we give our time, when we are doing certain things, we also always want to make sure that we are going to develop in some way, because that's the thing that helps to increase our satisfaction. So think about, again, times that you were most fulfilled, times where you're not fulfilled. Maybe you're not fulfilled in your job at the moment, and that's one of the reasons why you've joined this webinar. But we don't have to work or exist and be unfulfilled. So really what we're going to dive into are ways that you can figure out how you can develop a career around things that you truly enjoy doing. And Violet's just mentioned that in July, she was storyboarding content. That's something that she felt most fulfilled in. And even Sarah, thanks for sharing, was at an event last week helping small businesses with their digital marketing. So, just think about it. There are times when we are fulfilled and there are times where we're not fulfilled. And sometimes we are not fulfilled because we're not taking conscious steps to ensure that we only do things that bring us fulfillment. And so again, let's dive into this today. Mohammed is saying he's currently working as a DEO. I'm not sure what DEO is, so please elaborate on that. But because you're currently doing it, sounds absolutely awesome. You're currently enjoying what you're doing. So what I want to go through is a kind of method that we use to really evaluate what looks like a fulfilling job. Now, there generally tends to be three key elements to a job that you find fulfilling. Now, the first part is looking at something that you enjoy. So, what do you enjoy doing? Think about everything that you enjoy, and it doesn't have to be work related. I generally tend to look at this as my happiness list. So, if I'm not, whether I'm having a great day or not so great day, I have a list of things that if I do any of these, will always put a smile on my face and I will always enjoy doing them, regardless of what's happening around me. So, start to think about what is it that you enjoy. Now, the next thing is to look at what is it that you are good at and does it naturally play to your strengths? Right. So, what are you naturally good at? Now, sometimes the things that you're naturally good at aren't always the things that you enjoy doing, but it doesn't stop you from being good at it. So, think about what are you naturally good at? I'm naturally good at using technology. I get a new piece of software, piece of hardware, and I think what is going on here. But at some point, I just get to find that complex thing, break it down so it makes sense, and then I'm ready to go. So I'm a very quick learner. I can just get on with things. I'm naturally good at that. I don't always enjoy using technology. So that's the difference, right? Something you enjoy doing, something that you're good at. So what are you naturally good at? And Violet is saying she enjoys creating things and that comes naturally. So brilliant. So the next one is looking at something that people value. Think about something that there is a market for and that something, someone, somewhere is going to be willing to pay you to do that. Now, again, going back to my example, if I'm naturally good at technology and understanding how to use things, someone somewhere is likely to be willing to pay me to come and train them on how to use it, which is what I do in my current role. Right. So you can see how there are things that you're interested in, things that you are good at can sometimes lead to things that people value. And again, you may find that one thing does not fit in all of these three boxes, but we will go in these circles, but we will be going through this in a bit more detail. So what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? What are you good at? And what do people value? Now, think about it with these examples in mind. Now, things that you enjoy doing are things that are just fun. Things that you're good at generally tend to be practice, maybe playing an instrument. And something, people value are things that are not necessarily for you, it's for others, but that's what they're paying for. Now, that sweet spot is in the middle. That's where the magic happens. When you're able to figure out something that you enjoy, something that you are good at, and something that people will pay for, that's where you find fulfillment. That's where you are able to, get to do that piece of work. And again, I won't say career because it could be that you're doing something that's voluntary. It could be that you are mentoring someone, you're coaching someone, you're being paid for it. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it's something that you find fulfilling. And this particular theory has been inspired by the Ikigai method. Have any of you heard about that? Ikigai is essentially reason for being. It's a way of trying to figure out what is your purpose? What gifts and skills and talents have you been given that will allow you to use them to find some form of employment, whether that's for yourself or for others. So we're going to investigate these three areas so we can kind of put you on a path to finding the career that allows you to find fulfillment. So we must understand that before we get there, I want you to answer this question. What is the top motivator at work? Right? Understandably, we have to earn money. We have bills to pay. We have responsibilities. We understand that. But once we earn past the point at which we need, which is necessary to ensure all of our financial needs are met, food, water, shelter, there are basics. What's the thing that's going to improve our performance and help us to strive to do better. Once the money aspect has been fulfilled, what keeps us going? So, whilst money is certainly important, it's definitely not enough to make things fulfilling. It may start off that way, but is not always how it ends. And usually it's recognition of work. Right? We come to work, we put our all into everything that we do. And deep down, we want someone to recognize that we've done well, that we've helped somebody, that we have contributed to somebody else's success. And all of those things are about others. It's not about what we do for ourselves, it's about how we are helping others. And so, this is actually the top motivator at work, being able to be recognized. And so, again, when you think back to times where you've been unfulfilled in a role, ask yourself the question, was it the work you were doing or was it the lack of recognition? Because that definitely plays a part. And so we're going to be focusing on other things aside from money for the rest of this session. So just pausing for questions. We're just kind of at the beginning of it. And now we're going to go into an exercise where you actually get to complete that Venn diagram. So just in the beginning, we'll just see no questions at the moment. Absolutely fine. I know Sarah is very, very great at keeping the conversation going and answering any questions that you've got. So just keep chatting to us. Let us know. What are you thinking? What are you hoping to do in your own career? What inspires you? Where do you find fulfillment? And anytime you have a question, please do drop that in the chat and we'll get that answered for you. Okay, so let us move on. And we'll now start to look at uncovering your career goals. Right. So I said that in order for you to find your career goals, we have to go back to that base level. What's the driver? What's your motivator? What are the things that are innately part of your DNA? What are you really good at? What do you enjoy? That's going to help you determine how you move forward in life. Now, when you think about the exercise that we're about to do, don't think that this is finite. This is where you are right now. You might want to repeat this exercise in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years time. And what that will do is just allow you to continue to consolidate all of the skills, the gifts and the talents that you've got to take that next step into your career. So let's look at something that you enjoy doing. This is something you find pleasure in. So again, I mentioned we're going to be doing an exercise, so please make sure you're following along. And Sarah has already mentioned that this webinar will be available for the next 24 hours. So if you don't get to do all of it now, please do come and revisit the link within the next 24 hours so that you can go through all of the exercises. Now, if you look through, there'll be a list of phrases that I'm going to give you. And I want you to pick out the words that the words or phrases that you enjoy. Okay, so pick out the words or phrases that describe things that you enjoy. Secure and stable work. Having ideas. Helping others. Working independently. The work-life balance. Being an expert. Organizing people. Or maybe solving problems. Now, this is actually a list of different things that people generally tend to enjoy from work. And it's not just something that we've made up. It actually comes based on the work of Professor Edgar Schein, who has been working on this literally since the 1970s. So these are very, very much well tested and keep coming back as the phrases of things people generally tend to enjoy that at work. So make sure you get out your pen, your paper, your workbook, your worksheet, whatever you're working on, and write down all of the ones that are listed, all of the phrases that you genuinely enjoy. There are no right or wrong answers here. This is all about you figuring out what works for you. So do make sure that you're honest and don't pretend to enjoy something that you don't just because you think that's what we want you to do. Really focus on these things that you enjoy. Okay? Okay, so secure and stable work, having ideas, helping others, working independently, work life balance, being an expert, organizing people, and solving problems. Now, the next thing that we want to do is rank them in order of preference. Now, you may have two or three, you may have all eight, but the idea here is to figure out what are your top three. What are the three things that you enjoy the most out of the list that you have made? So I'll bring the list back up so you can just refer to it. So if you've got more than three, just focus on the top three in order of importance: one, two, three. One being most important. If you have less than three, just revisit the list and just check to make sure there aren't any other things. But if not, absolutely fine. We want you to be honest. So just focus on ordering the two that you have. Okay, so put these in order of importance. Next, we're going to pick out the phrases that describe what you are either currently or previously doing. Right, so these are things that are describing things that you have already done, either in your current role or maybe a previous role. So essentially, that you're highlighting the experience that you have. So again, just bringing these back up so that you can see the list of phrases. So again, what are you actually doing right now in your current role? And if you're not currently working, think back to your last role. Which of these did you do in that particular role? So again, just bear in mind, these may not be the three, your top three, but we just want to get an idea of which of the things that you enjoy doing are you currently doing now in your most recent role. Okay, so last step is for you to now think about the differences, right? So you should have two lists. The first list are your things that you enjoy the most, ranked in order. And then your second list is things that you are currently or have been doing in your most recent role. Now, if you find that the lists are very different, this is possibly one of the reasons that you may have dissatisfaction in the workplace. Because essentially, what we're saying is these are things that you enjoy, but you're not currently doing them at work. So, if that's the case, if you're not currently doing them at work, how much fulfillment will you really have at work? How satisfying will that job really be if you are doing things, but not things that you enjoy? So remember that everybody is different. And in a healthy workplace, there are a range of different people who enjoy different things. And this is why I say just be honest with yourself and don't feel that there is any answer that needs to be right or a certain way. This is about what's true for you and only you. So think honestly and actively about what you really enjoy at work. The more that you do and the more that you're honest, the more that you can deliberately seek those things out. Because if you tend to enjoy, being organized, or you want something that's secure and stable, it's unlikely that you will go and look for a temporary job because that doesn't offer security and stability. If you're somebody who really enjoys working with people, but then you get a remote job that means you work in isolation, you're less likely to find fulfillment in that role. So the more you understand about the things that you really enjoy doing, the more likely it is that you can make specific intentions to find a role or an opportunity that helps you do things that you enjoy. And if there's a very wide difference between your two lists, now is a very, very good time for you to really start focusing on how you can bring more of the things that you enjoy into your current role. And if that's not possible, to actually consider whether or not this role is going to be suitable for you. And maybe it might be worthwhile you finding something else. So We're going to just pause for questions. Please let us know if you have any questions whatsoever. So Sarah's mentioned her top three is working independently, helping people, and also work-life balance. Let us know, what are yours? Let me just jump back a few slides. So out of this list, I think even for myself, I would definitely say solving problems, helping others, and also having ideas. These are three things that I think, are really important for me. I like to have ideas and I don't like to be stifled. They may not all be great ideas, but similar to Violet and how she said she likes creating things, that's pretty much like I am. It's just that idea generation, creating things that are interesting, helping others. Everything that I do, I always want to make sure that I'm helping someone in some way, whether it's sharing knowledge, answering a question, signposting them to help them somehow along their journey. And then also solving problems. The world is full of problems. So the more problems that we solve, the less issues that we're likely to face and the more joy we can get from our kind of day-to-day life. So thank you for sharing. I've just seen a question come through. John is asking, is organizing people the same as managing people? I would actually say not really. Organizing people, potentially, if you're organizing people, these could be your peers. So imagine if there are a number of, let's say, managers or your colleagues, and there is an event taking place. We're in November, we're coming up to Christmas. So now is a good opportunity for you to organize people to attend an event, to be at a meeting, to get to a certain place. Now, managing people is slightly different because usually as a manager, you're not managing necessarily people's time, but you're managing their development, their growth, and their ability to excel within an organization. And so your responsibility is unlocking their potential. So managing people is helping them to unlock their potential, to kind of steer them along the right path so that they can achieve the goals and objectives that have set out to achieve. So I'm sure you can see the slight difference there is, generally in organizing people is just more about getting them to a certain place, but you don't have to be responsible for them or their development or growth. Whereas management is a different ball game. It's about really getting the best out of your staff. So what a brilliant question. And thank you for asking that. Okay, let's move on. So we've looked at things that you enjoy. We're now going to look at something that you're good at. And something that you're good at, again, as a reminder, is something that you generally tend to have a natural aptitude for. Now, let us know if any of you remember the first time you tried something new and you felt like, oh, I'm great at this. It's been a few years now, but I remember when I was younger, I used to play the recorder and also the violin. And, was given a sheet of music, was taught some of the basics. And the first time I played it, I felt, wow, this is amazing. This sounds really good. And, so at that point you think, oh, maybe I am really good at this. But sometimes our own individual perceptions of our strengths are not actually reflected in our actual abilities. Yes, I was able to play the violin. Yes, I sounded good on that particular day, but I still hadn't mastered the instrument well enough to know that I'm very, very good at it. So I generally tend to think, you would think that actually, as you get better at something, our feelings about how well we do increase at the same rate. But it generally doesn't tend to work that way. Has anybody heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? Let us know in the chat. Dunning-Kruger effect. It basically describes how human beings are notoriously bad at knowing their strengths and their weaknesses. So in this example, what we're saying is that, our perception of our abilities changes as we gain more experience. At the first time I played, violin and I was able to play a few notes. I thought, oh, great, I'm fantastic at this. So my confidence level was just extremely high. And I thought, this is great. This is something that I can really do. I have absolutely no competence at this point. I've just managed to follow a series of notes. I've not put my own spin on it. I've not been creative. I've not mastered anything. I've just done the basic. But interestingly, the more I learn about it, the more we, practice, the more we spend time trying to master a particular skill, what generally tends to happen is that our confidence takes a dip. So it may have started up here, but then the more we know, the more we realize we don't know. And so our confidence takes a dive. And we're no longer as willing to kind of step up and say, yes, it's me, I can do this. Because we have these self doubts, these negative thoughts that make us think that actually we're not as good as we actually thought we were. And so, even though our competence is increasing because we're starting to master this thing, our confidence begins to decline. And you can see on screen here how it shoots up, then it comes down. But then over a little bit of time, it starts to creep up. And so it's really over a period of time where you start to build your confidence in line with your competence. So let us know, are there any things that you found that you can relate to with this, that you started off feeling really excited and confident about, but then over time you realize that your confidence took a dip? So as I mentioned, after a period of time, you've learned a little bit more about it, and then you think that you're fantastic, but actually you're not. So the majority of us start off with that confidence level, and people who are in the lower percentile of ability, i.e., not very good, generally tend to overestimate their abilities. The easiest way to see this in action is to go and do karaoke with a friend. Any song that comes up, they will be the first ones on there, hitting every single note, thinking, oh my gosh, I am the next Whitney Houston. I am the next Luther Vandross. All right. Because in that moment, they sounded absolutely fantastic. And so now they're ready to take on a Mariah Carey song. And it doesn't go so well. And so their confidence takes a dip. And so again, over a period of time, it generally tends to work in the opposite way. If you're really good at something, because you've been mastering it, because you've been taking that time to really get better at the thing that you believe that you're good at, you underestimate your abilities and you start to shun compliments. People say, oh my gosh, you're so good. This is great. And really, you're thinking, no, it's really not that good. When in reality, you have definitely gotten better. You just haven't acknowledged it. And so therefore, you start to see the gaps between how good other people are and how good you are. And again, your confidence takes a dive. But then it gets to that point, as I mentioned, you're becoming an expert in it. You're getting really good at this and you're starting to master that skill. And it's only at this point that you actually feel confident in your competence that you can show up and be able to use those skills in any situation. So essentially what all of this means is that you want to truly understand your strengths by looking outside of yourself, because sometimes the thoughts that you have inside can be negative based on your confidence level. So now we know why it can be so difficult to recognize our own abilities because of that Dunning-Kruger effect. Let's have a practical exercise that you can do to identify your strengths. So what I want you to do is think of 3 people who know you really, really well. Try and avoid picking somebody who is a family member, as generally they tend to be quite biased. So pick a friend, maybe a neighbor, somebody at work. Pick 3 people and write them down. The next thing is I want you to identify a strength from the perspective of somebody else. So imagine speaking to one of those people that you trust and know very well. If you were to ask them what they thought about you, what would they say? So, for instance, I asked my friend Richard, if I asked my friend Richard, I would hope that he would say that he would always ask Anthea for help when he is job hunting, right? I will always ask Anthea for help with job hunting because somehow I always manage to find roles that seem to be quite aligned to what people have said. And I think that's just because I'm a good listener and I understand the kind of things that they're looking for. So when I see it, I'm able to find those jobs and share them. But remember, what you're doing for this slide is answering from their perspective, not yours. Imagine you're having a conversation with them. Their response will be, I always ask, you insert your name, for help with. Your name knows a lot about. You can always ask your name too. Okay, so answer these three from the perspective of the three people that you have selected. One person, one statement. So I'm just going to go forward one slide just to give you a bit of an idea about some of the things I mean. So I always ask Anthea for help with motivating others. Maybe Anthea knows a lot about being physically active. I'm also a weight loss coach, so I know about being physically active. So people generally tend to come to me and ask me about how to lose weight or exercises to do, things like that. You can always ask Anthea. You can always ask Anthea to, let me see, share knowledge. If I know something, I share it. Okay, so I think you're starting to get the idea here. We're starting to look at other people's perceptions of us. What is it that people are asking you to do? What do they think that you know a lot about? And why do they always ask you for something in particular? So make a note of this. If you haven't finished, just continue. We're going to be stopping for questions in a moment. So let us know. What were your statements? What do you always ask for? Sarah, let us know. What do people always ask you for help with? Okay, so we've got no questions at the moment. So we'll keep going. And again, just remember, if you do have any, pop them into the chat. So in this final element, we're really going to look at finding something that people value. So we started off looking at things that you enjoy. Then we looked at things that you're good at. And now we're going to look at something that people value. Sarah's saying people always ask me for help with writing reports. Now, usually when people ask us for something, it's not by accident. It's usually because they've seen something in us, or we generally have a natural aptitude for doing something in particular. And Sarah, I'll remember that the next time I've got to put forward a proposal. Okay, so let's dive into this last section. Something that people value. And so to do this, I just want to share a few different stories about, people who manage to follow their passions and find fulfilling work. And ideally, really they found this because they were just looking creatively for things that they enjoyed and that they were good at that could be valued. So in this particular example, we've got Abigail. She worked in technology at a large entertainment business, and she used to make cakes and bring them in for colleagues. We always have those people who, want to bring in all of the good stuff, and it's always during the time where you're trying to eat well. So she got such great feedback from this that she decided that she wanted to start her own business, which was called Abby's Pantry. She started in London and is now actually based in Scotland. Now, this is actually quite classic in terms of a story, because she was doing something that she enjoyed, right? So she was baking cakes. It was something that she enjoyed, and she probably had something in one of her phrases was helping others, or sharing with others. So she brought them into work so that she was able to share with other people. Finding that she's really good at it by getting great feedback from the colleagues at work that she break for. And then she turned this into a skilled hobby, from a skilled hobby into something that she could make a living out of. So something she enjoyed was baking. Something she was good at was making these cakes, and something that people found value in were buying these cakes. So setting it up as a business that people would now pay for this. So she started digital training with Google to help find new customers and also make her business more visible. So just because you have a passion or a hobby and you want to turn that into a business, there is so many resources available, especially through Google, which can help you to find customers, be more visible online, and also market yourself so that more people who find value in what you're doing will be able to connect with you. Now, the next story we're looking at is Claire and Rachel. Now, this is really just about, thinking way beyond what you currently do and being able to step into something that maybe doesn't even exist yet. Now, Claire actually was a barrister, and Rachel was a sonographer, who is somebody who does diagnostic imaging, like ultrasound scans and things like that. So we've got a barrister and a sonographer, and they went on to a starting your own business course, and they set up what they call How Do I Do, which is a directory to help people of all sexual orientations find wedding suppliers and wedding planners. Now, all this takes is for you to go to an event, see a problem maybe, and become the solution to that based on things you enjoy, things that you're good at, and things that people will find value in. So they're good at organizing, they're good at sharing knowledge, helping others. So bringing all of these things together after attending their one-to-one mentoring sessions, and they also attending the Writing for Social Media and Introduction to Digital Marketing webinars, they were able to create this business, to create this directory, to bring people to a central location where they can get more information about how they can get married. Because getting married is such a stressful situation, and there are so many moving parts and so many different suppliers that you need to engage with. So having a central location where you can find everything you need is something people would pay for to avoid the stress of having to find them all themselves. So again, this is another example of how you can just see a problem and want to solve it just by using some of your skills. And then lastly, we have Shaquille's story. So he was made redundant by his employer, and that was pretty much a very major turning point in his career. So instead of seeing that as a setback, he decided to just do something about it and set up, his own opportunities. He's working in HR. He figured out what he really, really enjoyed doing. And working independently was one of those things. So he became a consultant. And he generally tended to meet up with influential people through the hashtag catch up over coffee on LinkedIn. So just from having a creative idea, he's created such an influential movement. And over the last 6 months, he's made much more of an effort to improve his online presence and also expand his network. And I think even this is probably out of date. He's, grown from 200 to over 1,500 LinkedIn connections in a 6-month period, just from appearing in 2 Google search entries and 2 to 3 search pages. So Google Digital Garage helped with his name, thinking about more cost-effective ways to manage his website. Google actually offer free websites as well. So it's all about understanding that there are no barriers, there are ways to get things done. And if you have a passion for this, you will always find a way if you've got the right mindset. So just think about, what do you enjoy doing? What are you good at? And what is something that people will value? So think about what job or profession you may want to enter. Think about whether or not it's a business that you want to start or businesses that could use your skills. And think about, what's the value that you bring to it. Going back to the Claire story, they had a directory. The value is bringing all of these suppliers under one roof, essentially, which means that people save so much time. And because time is not something that can be replenished, people can't get that back. People are willing to pay to save time. So write in your workbook or in your notes at least one place that you think that you can be valued. And you can come up with a much longer list after today's session, but really start to think about, what job or profession, what kind of business could use your skills, and what groups of people may be willing to pay in order to make for you to make it or to do it. Again, going back to something that was mentioned earlier, Violet mentioned content creation. A lot of new entrepreneurs or small businesses don't have the time to create content. So that is a very great opportunity for someone to target small businesses or entrepreneurs to take that weight off their shoulders, to give them the time that they need to develop their business. So start with a list and expand on it as much as possible, just to give you some variety before narrowing it down even further. So think about where you go from here. What are the career opportunities that you've got? And have you ever looked for work using an online job search before? The ability to find work offline is increasing online. And there are plenty of places that you can actually find work online. So one of the ways that you can actually figure out if there is value in the things that you believe that you're good at, what you want to do, is to actually run a job search. Right? So job descriptions or jobs exist because somebody finds value in it. So if you want to be a dog trainer, if you want to be a content creator, if you want to be, a PE teacher, go and search online. There's LinkedIn, there's Do It, there's Charity Job, there's Indeed, there's CV Library. There are so many places online that you can search for jobs. There's Reed. And this is not necessarily for you to search for a job to apply to straight away, but it's really to reinforce and get that confidence, get that confidence that what it is that you are passionate about, that you really enjoy doing, is actually available out there and someone is willing to pay for it. So run a job search, have a look at the job description. What skills are in there? What are people looking for? Where's the value in that? And whether you decide to build a career, whether you decide to be a consultant, go freelance, or start your own business, you now know that there is a demand for the skill set that you have. And by pursuing that, it means that you are going to find work that you will find fulfilling because it's something you enjoy, it's something you're good at, and something people find value in. So look for these opportunities online. Get a LinkedIn profile if you haven't yet got connected on LinkedIn. Find everybody you know, whether it's currently or previously, connect with everybody. Your ability to do the things you love come from the network that you have. So the more you can grow your network, the more access to opportunities you can find. And if you search work on Google as well, you have options to filter and find what might work for you. So again, you've got LinkedIn, you've got Do It, which is a great platform to connect with volunteer opportunities, if that's something that you would find fulfilling to do. And then Charity Job is also another one for volunteer and also vocational work. So just remember that everything that you would like to do, somebody would find value in it. You've only kind of got these passions or these desires simply because there is a demand for it. It's needed in the world. Remember ikigai, reason for being. We each have a purpose. And so the things that we can do and that we enjoy doing, there is a purpose for it. There is a reason for you having those passions. So it's really important that you get out there and utilize them, because you're going to be helping people in their day-to-day life, whether it's individuals or businesses. So as we come to a close, I really want you to take the next few minutes to think about how you are going to reach your goal. We've covered the 3 key areas, and I keep saying this just to reinforce it. What is it that you enjoy doing? What is it that you are good at? And what is it that people would pay for? And Sarah's just dropped a really important note in the chat. Sometimes we need to take several steps to get to our ideal job. Don't think that it's one and done. I want this career. I know this is the very thing that I'm going to do. So the next job I do, I'm going to stay in that forever. That could be the case, but don't think about it as final. Sometimes we have to work our way and navigate our way through to get to the job that we find most fulfilling. But the fact that you've done this work today means that you know when something will be enjoyable and fulfilling and when it won't. And if it won't, then that's an opportunity for you to consider how you can navigate to something that will. So I want you to write down goals for each of these that we've listed here based on what you've learned today. I want you to write down a different goal, something that you're going to do today. I want you to write down something that you're going to do next week, something that you're going to do this month, and something that you're going to do this year. And all of these actions, all of these steps are going to bring you one step closer to finding your career goal. So an example is today I'm going to run a job search for things that I enjoy doing. Next week, I'm going to rewrite my CV. This month, I'm going to apply for at least 3 roles that I know that I will enjoy doing. And this year, I'm going to transition in my career. So this is just one example of a series of steps that are going to help you to find your career goals. And more importantly, find the thing that you are here to do. When you are working in roles that you are unsatisfied, unhappy, and just, unmotivated in, you are wasting your talents. And that there are people out there waiting for you to do the things that you have skills and talents and gifts in to make their lives better. So really find out what those things are. And if you've come to any conclusions as part of this webinar, please do drop them in the chat and let us know what they are. Let us know. We'd definitely be very pleased to hear it. So again, one thing that's useful, especially when it comes to goal setting, is accountability. It's easy to watch a webinar like this. It's easy to, do the exercises that we're asking you to do and to say, right, these are my steps, but will you commit to doing it? So speak to friends that you trust. We made a list of 3 people who know you well. Consider them even. And you may want to share your steps with them. You don't have to, but you may want to share what you're intending to do today, next week, this month, and this year with somebody else, so that you have somebody that you can check in with, so that they can keep you on track and keep you focused. Because if you are accountable to someone other than yourself to make progress, you are much more likely to meet your deadlines. And research actually shows that when you write things down, specifically your goals and objectives and your intentions, you are more likely to complete them. So if you don't finish this, again, just remember you can always watch this back and go through it, but would definitely recommend that you complete this exercise. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any final questions. So we'll just start to look at what are your next steps. We've gone through this whole thing about, what do you enjoy? What are you good at? And what do people find value in? And we've opened up your mind to all these possibilities. So now it's over to you. What are you going to do, especially with these 4 goals that you've now set out? So remember, we do have, and I mentioned this before, we have webinars on build a CV and cover letter. And we also have another webinar around building a personal brand. So now you're potentially going to be transitioning careers and doing something different. Consider, what does your CV need to look like? How do you position yourself in a covering letter? And if you're going to be signing up on social media platforms such as LinkedIn, how do you go about building a personal brand so that who you say you are is in line with how you're showing up online as well? So do check out other webinars that we've got and sign up for all of them. Again, they're all free, and we'll be able to kind of help you move closer to your career goals. So lastly then, really, I just want to remind you of the free career certificates that Google currently offer for job seekers who are based in the UK. Now, if you're looking to improve your job ready skill set, sign up for one of these. What you may have discovered through the exercises that we've done in today's webinar is that maybe you now have a knack for IT. Maybe you are great at organizing people. John asked that question about organizing versus managing, right? So maybe you're starting to realize that there are other things that you're good at. So maybe you might want to consider IT support, maybe project management, maybe even data analytics if you're really good at taking complex things and making it simple so that other people can make decisions on it. Or maybe you're very creative and you might be interested in UX design. Either way, do make use of this free resource. You get to work at your own pace. It's all online. You'll get access to Coursera, where you'll be able to sign up to any of those courses. And on average, if you are spending around 10 hours a week studying self-study at pace, you'll be able to complete it in about 6 months. So it's a level 4 certificate, not quite a degree level, but higher than an A level. And so just think, 6 months going through all of this, upskilling yourself, learning as much as you can, building your network. In 6 months' time, you can have a completely different career that is fully rewarding and fully fulfilling as well. So the link for that has been shared in the chat. So please do go and check it out and see if it's right for you. And if so, then please sign up. So thank you so much for your participation today. I hope you found today's webinar useful, the exercises helpful in trying to figure out what do you do, what career you might want, and continue working on it. We only had an hour today. Go back, revisit what you've put down, and just add to it if you need to. Take that time, because that's going to be the basis for all of the decisions and actions that you take moving forward. So remember, if you're interested in more training, do visit our website so you can check out more webinars that we've got. And of course, you've got online courses available on the Digital Garage website as well. So thank you so much for joining today, for your comments and your questions. And very special thanks to Sarah for keeping everything organized and to time today. And again, just wish you all the best in everything you're doing. And remember, somebody is waiting for you to show up so that they believe that they can too. So all the best and take care. Bye-bye.